and Progress, featuring Luh Sari. I'm sure you're going to say your whole name pretty soon. But we're talking about real estate. We're talking about Bali, right? So many of us in the audience have been here maybe 10, 15, 20, some 30 years, from what I can see. And, you know, a common conversation comes in this area. Have we gone too far? Has Bali gone too far? Have development gone too far? So these are some of the questions that we're going to be answering tonight. Before I introduce our guests, my name is Robert Ian Bonnick. As you know, our PMA is a gateway to Indonesia through 3 award-winning initiatives. One is Speak Up Monday, which you're watching now, and we've had about 1,000 guests, 10,000 audience, 1 million plus views online, and it's with leaders, stakeholders in around 10 different market sectors. That led into RIB and Associates, which is a growth strategist in Indonesia, connecting businesses and solving business challenges in 10 market sectors. The final one is Tourism Architect, which works with deliberately, consciously, with tourism boards around Bali and Indonesia as well, on regenerative tourism initiatives, and we're endorsed respectively by the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy, Bali Tourism Stakeholders, Forbes Business Council, number 1 stakeholder here in Bali as well. But look, let's get on to tonight's show. So this will be a pretty long intro, but I'm very excited. Okay, let's see. So let's give you a little bit of background on our guest tonight. So, a passionate and powerful leader shaping Bali's legal and cultural landscape, helping countless investors and locals navigate property laws. Yet today, she shares something deeper. A personal journey through Bali's transformation. Growing up right here in Canggu, which you're going to hear some bikes in a minute, very Canggu, the daughter of a renowned Balinese architect, Sari witnessed the rapid shift from rice fields to resorts, from tradition to global influence, and she will explore the difficult choices Balinese families face when selling ancestral land, and how these decisions reshaped Canggu into the booming destination that it is today. So 3 key takeaways from today, amongst many others I'm sure. Balinese architecture, cultural integrity, how to preserve heritage amidst rapid development, karma and honor in agreements, how Balinese values influence investment and the economy. And we've also got the truth about property investment in Bali, common pitfalls, success stories, and a sustainable path forward guided by Tri Hitakarana, harmony between humans, nature, and the environment. Now, finally, what I love about this is your background is quite diverse. So we've chairwoman of DBB Foundation, ex-president of Bali International Women's Association, founder of Malekat Hukum law firm, right? Founder of the People's Law Center, and founder of Shrikandi Justice for Domestic Violence Awareness. So look, let's give another round of applause, please, for our guest, Luh Sari. Wow. So, firstly, welcome to the show, as I find a place to put this without it blowing away. You know, when you hear this long but well-deserved introduction to you and the things that I think define you as a person, so like, what comes up? I know tonight we have a whole Bali sphere to talk about, but on a personal level, you know, like maybe feelings of pride, feelings of, you know, I think I could have done more. What comes up for you when you hear that introduction?
Well, first of all, hello everyone.
Hello.
I want to say Om Swastiastu first.
Swastiastu.
And then I have said to you, this talk is actually dedicated to my late father, Professor Imade Sukadana. He's an architect in Bali who passed away. So I'm excited with this because I want to talk about changes from Bali, from rice field to Bali now. From that point of view, I'm so passionate with that, yeah. And how I feel that Bali should be as an island in the future with the modern development. How's that making a balanced paradox? That's what I'm quite excited about. So.
You know, one of the things which strikes me about you as being really well suited to tonight's talk is that, you know, that you're a Balinese woman, but you also spent quite a bit of time outside of Bali, internationally. So how do you think that impacts your worldview when it comes back to Bali?
Well, I'm quite fortunate, and also because of the Canggu development, my family can afford my schooling. I was graduated in the States. I went to the best schools, and I went to university in the States as well, and to the UK, and where I stay quite some time. But I always have this yearning that I have to go back home. I mean, UK is nice, but Bali is the best. So when I get back home, I always say what I can give back to my community, how I can change, and how I actually make Bali better. Because, see, like UK, there is like a social security in Bali. The social security is actually we have to look after each other. You know, we have to look after the drainage, the building, and that's the concept Trihita Karana is very important. It's our compass of life. We have so many tools of life, compasses like Balinese and Javanese. My mom from Jogja, by the way. So, you know, all this combining with the logic and reason in the UK and the narrative in Bali, it will be create a good balance and a better world, I would say.
You know, one of the things which I think most people here, I look into the audience and I see people which been here for a while, right? So they probably know this already. But for those watching online, you know, again, we're talking about, you know, a vast nation, the fourth most populous in the world, almost 300 million. We're talking about, you know, I think 700 cultures, 500 plus languages. We're talking about, you know, the average age around 27. We're talking about 17,000 plus islands. And then when you look at Bali, you know, we're talking about an island that contributes from a financial standpoint, you know, less than 2 or 3% of GDP for the whole nation. But when it comes to tourism, it's around 70 or 80% from memory. So its importance cannot be understated. And for a lot of people like me, my wife is Indonesian, but you know, I am from the UK. I'm a Westerner, an expat. So our gateway to Indonesia is Bali. Right, which kind of gives us this frame of, you know, why do we come to Bali? Most people here, I think, will probably answer culture is really important, right? A lot of people will probably answer, you know, way of life, way of being, ease of living, climate, and so on. Yeah. So then into this place, you know, as we were chatting before, certain parts of Bali were kind of supposed to be what they became. Nusa Dua was supposed to be exactly what it is, a conference capital. When it comes to Badung, you know, I think early on, you know, some of the hotels or restaurants were brought to Badung, so it was supposed to be an engine room as well. You know, and then we look at other areas like Tabanan, where we set up a Tabanan community WhatsApp with government and a few other stakeholders and so on, about 300 plus. But then we look at other areas of Bali, and we see impact, right? And we look at maybe the property area, for example, we see great impact. We see rice paddies being taken back and properties being built on top. We see, you know, places like Park Ubud that recently was in the news as, you know, but according to reports, didn't follow some of the guidelines, and as a result of that, there have been imprisonments, there have been fines, and there have been closures. So now what we have here is that, you know, we have maybe a system where people were following of building before they got the permits, right? And now what they realize is that that's no longer the way, and now permits are being, they're being knocked back, refused, hundreds a month. So now we're in this place where we have impacts to culture, and we have, you know, this challenge about now property being tightened up in the restrictions and guidelines around it. And here, I guess, comes tonight's talk. So I guess my question to you then, you know, would be in reverse. You know, Bali moving forward 30, 40 years, what would you like to see?
What I like to see Bali is, I think, is the better building, more Balinese architecture. So, as an architect daughter, I see many buildings and just respecting the integrity of the island. You see, have Balinese concept also in the design is possible, also good. For example, like there is a feng shui of Bali, it's called Kosala Kosali. It's almost like Chinese feng shui. Have that in place, so you're paying homage to the island as well, and also creating a harmony to the people around, the divinity, and to the environment too. That's what I like to see Bali. But actually, as you see, there is hit and miss, of course, in any development. But I think Bali is good because now Bali's become the playground of the world. I mean, a lot of villa actually in Bali. I remember I was in Italy, like the villa in Como, for example.
Lago di Como, beautiful
Lago
place.
di Como. It's like garden of love or something like that, you see. So I'm just like, Bali is becoming garden of tropical. So we become quite exclusive. And then there is a lot of lesson like from the Western architecture to Indonesian architecture that can learn together. Balinese architecture can learn about how to build better. First villa in Bali, I'm not going to say which one. But you know, there's the Western architect, but there's also the Balinese architect there. That's what we like to see actually in Bali. And also architect being an architect, not only drawing. And then I'm sure, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly, I'm only 21, but there is like a building, like, you know, instruction, how to use this in this, the type of like lime, cement, and sand, like, you know, it need to be described so everyone can see it, make you have an island feeling. But you know, a paradox, a traditional modernity as well, because some Balinese architects say, well, there is no, like, you know, the type of pitch roof and everything. You know, the arches building now, that's very popular. But if I'm not mistaken, in UK, those is quite passé, isn't it? Am I correct?
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the interesting part, I'm from the UK, but as a few people know, it's been 20 years since I set foot in the UK. So maybe I'm not the right person to answer that question. But quick question for you, just because I like to keep people together, right? So there are people watching and people here that maybe don't really understand the process. You mentioned SLF, but people, let's
make sure there is a building permit as well.
And
make sure there is a building permit as well.
And what can that be? That due diligence? So someone like your firm, that due diligence? So someone like your firm?
Yeah. So the diligence is important because with the diligence all these discoveries. The notary is important because with the diligence all these discoveries. The notary will also only see the information in front of him. Actually engaging with them as well. You know, like for example, like, okay, maybe if this is become a villa complex, there is a job for you. So they are at peace.
Summarize is that there's a process here. There's a legal process step by step to follow. Which involves the due diligence, which is the critical part, and for that you need a lawyer to make sure that all of these different certificates include them in. So if you're building on someone, then you know there's a job available.
Yeah.
And that someone, then you know there's a job available.
Yeah.
And that job can be done by them. Then include them in. So be inclusive in that way as well. Include them in. So be inclusive in that way as well.
And also, you know, and everything. So the client will understood all of this is important. So our law firm is actually based in Brawa and one in Dalung. We have offices as well in Jakarta and also in Yogyakarta. Our law firm is founded by my mother, Professor Retno. She is a law professor, used to be at Adriana University, and she's from Gajah Mada University as well. Gajah Mada is like the Oxford of Indonesia. She's specializing in company law and also corporate law as well. And we have a lot of family which is in law from my mom's side. So, when we do the law firm, we want to make sure that we can actually give certainty in law. I hate to think some people say, well, there is no justice in Indonesia. But, I created this law firm, so there is a justice in Indonesia. We need to do something about that because that's good for business too, give certainty. So our law firm do all sorts. We do company, corporate, immigration as well, but we do big litigation. We have a class action. We are featured internationally as well, and we have one case that's very big. Like we cannot say in public yet. Just not want to disturb the case. Make sure they get a proper justice as well. So we are more like a hub of many laws. But our intention is to help and also to make sure you can trust us because this is my island. So I hate my islands being used for so many scam and they run away to wherever and then Bali get the brunt of it. So now with this law and make sure like you do your due diligence rightly. We try to solve the case by win-win solutions. And also with our client as well, we advise like 3 steps ahead as a law firm, not like an agent, because actually, well, what happened here to avoid litigations is it pay to do your homework. So it's different law firm type of approach.
So it's got it. So there's quite a lot of different aspects that you focus on, but we have experts to deal with each one. And as you mentioned, you're from here, you're Balinese. So for you, it is about protecting the island, about preserving the island,
correct,
right?
Yep.
So that filters through the cases that you take on. It filters through how you advise people with a more of a long-term view as
correct.
opposed to just a transactional view of making money.
Client, for example, if you have contractor, the contractor say from out of island, we can tell our client, if anything happen, remember you get to sue them in this island. Do you want to take that contractor? We just make them aware more. So have this different conversation, like this situation scenario, because I hate to think like down the road, down the year, my client say, why don't you tell me about this, Sari? I mean, it's my duty of care, and I say, ask permission, can I advise you in certain things, like, but it's up to them to make decisions. So we also, not only the law, but we actually, there is also the local values, the local people. That's why Trihitakara is so important to understand that. Then you'll be a winner.
Got it. So look, people here in the audience, so we've got the third mic, Guzman? Yeah, great. So in about 2 minutes or so, maybe even 3 minutes, let's see. If you have questions, right, just raise your hand. The mic will come to you. Yes, question over here. I knew you would have one. I had a feeling. So for now, just hold that mic, but it will go to him first. So, yeah. About questions. So it is okay to introduce yourself briefly, but not too much of a long story. Go straight to your question. So in other words, my name is blah, 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 blah. Our company is blah, 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 blah. We do this. My question is this. Okay, something like that, so we can catch and have more questions to give more value, all right? But it's coming to you first. Thank you for volunteering. So look, tonight's episode is about culture, law, and progress, right? So we've dealt a little bit about culture, a little bit about law, a little bit about progress as well, but before we go to the questions, is there anything at this point, and we've got more to go, so there's more to come, but is there anything that's kind of standing out for you, perhaps in the region of, part of the reason why we set up this show is called Speak Up Monday, Destination Indonesia. That's the full name. And one of the reasons for it was unapologetically to give a true account of what's happening from the horse's mouth. So in other words, when we hear stories about the criminal code that if you're a couple, you can't have sex if married and you might be thrown, each one has a story which are either based here or visiting here or live here, right? And so when you tune in, you hear it from the person as a primary source. Right? Not trying to sell a newspaper, not trying to sell anything, but just a true account for them of what their life is like. So that's one of the big reasons for the show. So
Bali thrive, say comparing to next door island and everything, we have the development, is because our ancestral value honor those agreements, especially land is quite sacred. That's why we have the prosperity in Bali. So basically, our teaching is actually give us prosperity. That's I want people to know that there is a karma, because as Balinese, we feel like, what we have to be responsible what we do, because it doesn't pay to cut corner, we'll pay it at the end. I think that's what I want people to know about Bali. Where is the karma, the sense of being Balinese, where I'm from, my village. I'm so happy here. So we have this discussion, East Coast, West Coast. I'm a Canggu girl. Sanur is fine, but I'm a Canggu girl. And also, what's my purpose in life? Is I want to make my island better, because my children here, this is my insurance policy, to make my island better. And so what's the future? My karma. So I'm like creating dharma to fix my karma. Something like that.
Love it. Creating dharma to fix your karma. That's like a soundbite to take away with you, right? I'm there going like, okay, what dharma can I create? Okay, so do we have the microphone over here, Brother Guzman? So if you switch it on, remember the question. So, okay to say your name, your company, no problem. The camera will swivel, it'll be on you. And then just go straight to your question. Just give Guzman a second just to mic you up, and away you go. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Shani. My question is back to that scams you talked about, people doing scams and then leaving the island. In most countries, people would have different forums, and they would actually put the name and maybe even address of the person that actually scammed them. And just like Yelp or Flashback or anything like that, as far as I know, there is no such system here in Indonesia or Bali where people can turn to the internet and say, listen, this guy just took off with my money, or he didn't deliver whatever they promised to us. And I'm assuming that there is some legal or technical issues that forbids that. Is that possible to do? I would love to.
Yes, it's possible to do. For example, if you have the police report, for example, then you can actually go public that you have like a case here, that someone for example stole, and they have the police report. But you do need to have a police report, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. And also if the court case as well, because some of our cases we take it to the global level. For example, some of our cases actually going in front news in news.com, and also we were in Al Jazeera as well. So yes, we use the media also to be a court of public opinion too. But we need to do the procedure correctly, have the police reporting or the court case. Then we hold the press conference in the police station. But you do need to have a police report too.
Okay, so you just need a police report. After that, you could actually post that on a forum saying that this person took my money and ran, basically.
Yeah, based on the police report, yeah.
And are there any complications if you're a foreigner and you subject then a national for that, like an Indonesian?
Well, for example, if your claim doesn't stay, for example, then it's possible that they sue you back.
Yeah.
Because it's, for example, falsify or something, then it is possible. So as foreigner, well, no, because as long as you're still in the corridor, like you are working as for your permit, you shouldn't be afraid of anything. I don't want you to be afraid of anything, because this is like a fair and just place, I hope.
I was specifically thinking of relationship between people signing up with contractors to build their houses, and then the problem starts and you have different expectations and maybe bad agreements, and then they disagree, and then the people take the deposit and they walk away and they never see them again.
Okay, about bad agreement. People come to us for contract reviews, but we always tell them not only the contract review, you need to do due diligence, checking the ID, checking everything. That's most important. And also with if for example you get scam and everything, use lawyer, so we can actually, you are protected as well in terms of anyone try to threatening you or anything, then we can speak in the legal corridor as well. If they have a lawyer, then the discussion will be focused.
Sorry, can I
Thank you.
just add something to this?
Bit closer, brother.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if where the question is coming from and the nervousness, but one thing I've noticed in various forums, and as I'm sure everyone's aware that's been here long enough, Facebook in particular, there's a lot of people commenting all the time, and one thing I've noticed recently is defamation. And maybe that's something what you were alluding to, where, you know, someone just goes on and say, oh, look, this guy scammed me out of X amount of cash. And then suddenly all these keyboard warriors go, you can't say that, that's defamation.
Exactly.
Well, I'm from a legal background. I you know, defamation has to be proved for a start. But I think what you're saying is it's the fear that you might have defamed someone. Is that right?
That's correct.
Thank you, brother. Thanks, Andy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's why you need to have the police reporting before you going to media. It's very important, or the court case.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks for the question, Shani. Anyone else? Hands, yes, just in front over here. Thank you, darling. Yeah. All right, coming forward. For those of you just tuning in, you're watching Speak Up Monday. Tonight is all about culture, law, and progress here in Bali, featuring Luh Sari.
So I'm also a lawyer, junior associate, and I already have taken one case. So what I'm currently having issues is like my clients having the design of architecture, and then I speak to them like, look, in order to get the PBG, which is a building permit, you need to have the accents or the accents of Balinese accent. And what he said to me is like, can we pay that off? Because like what they aiming is like what would makes people buy the property. They don't care about how the accents looks like. They don't want to know about that. That what he aiming is like, I want to create something that people would buy. So whatever that things is, I don't want to care. So how did I count to solve these issues? Because many clients who is not originally from Bali is like coming to me like saying the same thing.
Yeah, this is like I would say a Bali phenomena as well, whereby they want everything quick, like, you know, expedite everything. And also what you can say is like, based on the law, you need to have the Balinese touches. So if you don't have that, then you have a time bomb. If, for example, there is a building review and then not happening, I haven't seen it happening, but you know, if, for example, they don't want to give the permission to that, I'm quite confident with the new government this will change. We want more Balinese touches, as actually in the law we have to have this Balinese element to be put, and you need to tell your client too, to make sure they adhere to that. I think it's our duty as well as Indonesian. We need to tell the client.
So also as a senior lawyer, can you advise me more about like the issues about the scam and everything? Would you think an escrow account would be a proper idea to solve scam and all of that, having and setting an escrow account? And like I try to find out like what is the best way, which bank should I get to set up an escrow account? Do you think this is the best idea that I could deliver to my clients?
Well, the notary can do the escrow account.
So it has to come from the notary, or
well, the notary should do the escrow account. Yeah, we have every transaction with the notary to do the escrow account, instead of like someone else. But you need to make sure the agreement is watertight. For example, like after the diligence, the escrow is gonna be released and everything, and both party agrees about that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So we'll just pass that one. If you give it to Guzman or Andy, even better, all good. So we're gonna.
Okay. So my name is Nanti. My background, I studied law in Indonesia, and I had my master degree.
A little bit closer, my darling.
Okay. My name is Nanti. I have a legal background in Indonesia, and then I studied my master degree in Europe, and now I'm a consultant in construction. So can I see how many of you actually have done the development here?
So how many developers raise your hand or done developments here? That's
or
a quarter.
about to do the development.
About a quarter.
Haven't started yet. Okay. So I think I would like to add a little bit more based on the theory and the practical. In order for us to be able to be successful in the development, first we have to have drawing, architectural drawing that knows exactly as Sari said. It has to fulfill every aspect of the requirements, design, legal, and everything. Secondly, you have to understand the zoning. You know, when you get the land, you have to have the zoning and everything. And then thirdly, you have to have a very credible notary. They are bad, like naughty notaries who can basically do anything for money. Fine through usually recommendation from someone that you know, you trust. That is very important.
So just quickly, so for those watching, a notary, for maybe Australians watching, is like a conveyancing lawyer.
Okay, right? So lawyer and notary, they are two different things. Notary basically over legislation, and then lawyer is doing litigation, advice and everything. So notary goes for every signing, like you have land, you buy land transaction goes to notary. Yeah, or property transactions go to notary. While lawyer helps you in terms of getting advice and litigation if you have to go down that road. Yeah, and then the point I'm trying to make with the construction is that culture-wise, yes, there are requirements that you, for example, you have to have, like in the roof, it has to be 20 degrees, and then you have to have bubungan, what you call it, yeah? And that is a requirement in PBG. Yeah. However, in 2024, the government passed new rules, July 23, I think, what is called from IMB to PBG. Those are the same thing, license to build, but the PBG is more into making sure not only they approve the building, but that building is actually livable. So there is an upgrade into the context of IMB into PBG. And the funny thing is SLF also arrived. Why SLF born? Because the government was trying to facilitate all the illegal buildings in Indonesia, where like 50% of buildings they had no license because they violate. If for example the government said, "Hey, apply the license now," they won't pass because the building wasn't built in a way that that met the requirements. The SLF was born to kind of like help those buildings apply for license with violations, but usually what they concerned about is they would come to check the structure. They would come, the certified engineer would come and check the structures, whether it's actually safe for people to live. And then they would check also the landscaping, and they would check also the whatever is inside that house, whether it's livable. That's what the SLF was about, to accommodate all the buildings with no license that wouldn't pass in any way the requirements for the government. Next, what happened with the new buildings misuse this SLF. It was meant to be for the old buildings, but then we have SLF now. Let's build now and get the SLF ladder because there is like legal umbrella saying we can violate the requirements. That is what happened now. Yeah. The initial SLF was to facilitate the existing building that didn't meet the requirements, so the government can come to them. Okay, the building is there, we admitted you have to pay taxes. But then later on, as always, the new buildings all of a sudden are able to use SLF.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what happened right now.
So Nenti, give me 1 second. I just want to go to Sari. Yeah. Just don't play with that, my darling, because it will stop. If there's anything you'd like to add to what Nenti's saying, give her a break. Grab her a glass of water, or you got a glass of water too. Is there anything you'd like to comment on what Nenti was just saying?
Okay. First of all, I have to clarify that I'm not a lawyer, but I'm one partner of the law firm. We are 30 lawyers in the group, and we also have international consultant as well. So in terms of notary and lawyer, so what we do is actually our agreement is structured by a lawyer, because in the event of litigation, notary is not going to defend you. They will testify but not going to defend you. And sorry. What?
Okay, just keep on going. It's okay. Hold that thought,
Okay,
please.
so we have notaries, lawyer actually structuring that agreement to make sure, like, if you are a client, to make sure the agreement is watertight for you, and also during the signing, we are there for you to make sure your rights is actually, we make sure like your interest is actually is there. So it's important to also have the lawyer here, because some people say we get to get notary, which is great, but the notary position is impartial. So if we want to say, like, we want to make sure like 20% escrow and this and this and this, that has to be a lawyer who talk to the other lawyer.
Okay.
And you need to have a lawyer as well to make sure your best interest. That's people sometimes forget, just leave it to the notary.
Yeah. So, I mean, what's coming up? And then we'll go back to you for another 30, 40 seconds, okay? And then we're going to pass it on. So what we're hearing now is, for those people that may be watching, those people here as well, if you're looking at doing a development in Bali, you may have heard a lot of things over the past, but the tide is rising. So there's more regulations which are being enforced. Even in Jakarta, and there's some buildings that I know of that have been bulldozed, right? That they didn't have the right, they didn't follow the regulations. One is a very big site actually outside of Jakarta, and it was bulldozed, so just done. So in other words, all of the money that had been invested, it's all lost. So before you even think about, doing something that a friend of a friend told you it works like this in Bali, my suggestion, I'm not a lawyer, but suggestions coming through is don't. Do it properly. Get a law firm. Get a notary which is respected and known. If you need help, obviously we have Sari here, and do it properly, right?
Yeah. Well, get a lawyer, get law firm basically, because you see, we also see things like in the event of litigation, we think like three
steps ahead.
3 steps ahead, really.
Yeah. So
there's another point to add to this. I've purchased once. I actually used a firm to do due diligence myself, right? I don't have to do that. But the thing you got to remember is that the notary, whilst being impartial, is actually acting for the seller. Okay?
Great point.
So it's not like the UK, for example, where it's possible for the conveyancing to act for both sides, but typically everyone has their own conveyancing, buyer and seller. So that's another reason to go to a law firm, which is what I did when I bought my place here in Brawa, because it was my first time purchasing in Bali. I just wasn't prepared to rely on the notary, because the notary gets paid by the seller.
That's a really good point. Thank you so much for mentioning that. And Nancy, is there something you want to finish off with?
Pardon?
Because I stopped before, yeah. So,
yes,
but closer to you.
In terms of escrow, yes. For example, I think escrow starts in the beginning of the process. Usually, when there is a interest is pretty hot. Like, okay, I want to buy that land, but I can't. And if I don't pay the down payment now, somebody might lose that land. So okay, I'm ready, for example, to pay 10% of the total, and I can't just give it directly to the owner, because it's afraid if it's a bad, Indian deck doesn't work, and the owner would just go, hey, this is down payment, right? So I'm taking it with me. But that with the escrow, with the notary, yes, it's able, 10% of the total agreement, put it in the notary's account, and then if it doesn't work out, the the money will be there, and then will be returned, or to whoever has the right to own that money, either the seller or the buyer. It could go both ways.
Let me add to that. It's quite simple saying like put an escrow and everything. However, when you put the money, there's will be like little MOU. That MOU really need to be structured properly, because that MOU is actually the basis of the agreement. So that's quite difficult job too as well. If a client come to us, we like the land and everything. Oh well, let's just us do some due diligence here. When we happy about this, then we have the MOU. So the MOU is not something that you can just rush it, because that's actually the start of the agreement as well, based on the MOU too.
Absolutely. Everything has to be state clear and then legally binding. Yes.
All right. So we'd love to hear from some other people. Any questions from the ladies over here are taking notes, their heads down, which I love. Right. It's a very good thing. But any questions from there? Tessa, Sabina, anyone? No, you're good. You're complete. Any other questions over here? Yes. Just wait, my darling, or we're gonna get the mic to you. No, you don't want to. So what's your question? So it's okay, Guzman. She doesn't want to. So please explain what an MOU is. Yeah. Okay.
MOU is called MOU, but it's not actually a MOU actually, but it's pre-sale agreement. So the something like an abstract before the agreement, but you need to get it right. Even though it's simple one before the due diligence discoveries and everything, then we can put in the agreement. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Another MOU actually means Memorandum of Understanding, but it's come up. I mean, I'm doing a little bit of work with Sari at the moment, and I've heard that language come up, and I'd say, isn't this just a sales agreement? So in New Zealand terms, for example, it would be what you sign with an estate agent. You put your deposit down, your 10% or whatever, and it's subject to, title search, building report, all that sort of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
We have a great team here. We've got Sari, Andy, Nenti.
Oh, yes.
All right, this is good.
I would like to perhaps say something about SLF. Yeah, SLF is
All right, just wait for 1 second. Because now this will probably 30-40 seconds. You can do it in that time. Okay, great. And then we're gonna move on after that.
Yeah. Sorry, when I think I just realized now about the SLF, I made it sound negative, but it is not negative at all. So it's a risk we take. Like, for example, when I told you it was done to facilitate all the illegal buildings, so the government could charge them with taxes. That is actually true. And then now the new developments also go down that road, build first and apply the SLF later on when it's completed. It's nothing wrong with that, but we're taking risk. Yeah, we're taking risk whether actually the building would fulfill the requirements and then it would be granted. So it's not at all negative or bad things or illegal. You can do this, but you're taking risk within your property. Yeah, that's I want to correct that part.
Thanks for the clarification. Appreciate it. So if you pass that to you can round of applause if you like. Round of applause, everybody. Let's see if you're awake. Yes. All right. Woo. All right, so we're talking culture, law, and progress, featuring Luh Sari and Malekat Hukum is the name of the company.
It's been Angel of Justice.
Angel of Justice, love that.
So
okay, yeah.
In Malekat Hukum, we want people to have hope of justice because we want to have a fair and justice in Indonesia. Because the law gives certainty, and in business you need certainty. Yeah. So my country hopefully getting there. And to add to the statistic, Balinese Japanese, we're the fourth biggest population. So every 60 people in the world, there is one Indonesian.
You see, I'm going to take that one for another episode. Love that. All right. So today, again, we're talking about culture, law, progress.
Yeah.
So I think we've spoken a bit about the law. We've spoken mainly about real estate that we expected. Is there anything else, as we have this audience, we have the people watching who are going to watch it in the future. Is there anything else, if we zoom out of real estate now and look at Bali as a whole, and we think about those three things, culture, law, and progress, what else would you like to discuss? And just ask you to put that microphone to your mouth. Yeah.
Okay, Bali as a whole, that's interesting. You see, people say Canggu is overdeveloped, chaos and everything. And Sanur is quite structured, nice. But it meant to be like that because Sanur is the sunrise, so everything is in order. Canggu is the sunset where all the chaos. So it's like there's the compass, the cardinal direction, call it whatever. So, I think looking at the rest of Bali, if you want to build, for example, in the north of Bali and everyone else, do that. Bring the prosperity to the rest of Bali and respecting the local community too. You see, the reason why the road in Singaraja is quite nice, because the Dutch already do the town planning for Singaraja. You know, the northern cities like Semarang, Surabaya, Singaraja, so Buleleng. So the south wasn't meant to be apart from Nusa Dua and Sanur near the airport. And then there is a Sunset Road. Yes, the infrastructure need to be fixed in terms of a very crowded density, perhaps. But if you're comparing to Jakarta, for example, where like building, we are still not too dense. And then I think there is natural selection as well of the goddesses who wants to be in this island or not. I do believe that too.
You know, so as we begin, we're probably going to be wrapping up soon. So, but not yet, right? But soon. So, legal, law, so we discussed culture. I think we can go a little bit deeper into culture because, you know, this is something which I think most people, when they think about Bali, they think about culture, right? Obviously real estate, but we've dealt with that now. We'll put that one aside. So when it comes to culture, where do you feel the Balinese culture is now, and what would you like to see going forward in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years?
I think the Balinese culture is quite strong, and to be honest, the booming from the tourism development actually fuel we have more disposable income for the ceremonies, so for like making intricate ornament in the house. So I think, you know, the tourism actually boosts the culture. So I see that, you know, that progression, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Back to the guy that spends too much time reading Facebook forums. Sorry, one thing I've never discussed with you, even though I've known you a little while now, is what do you say to those foreigners, or bule as we call ourselves or get called when we're here, who say, why are Balinese giving up their rice fields? You know, because it's such a, you know, everyone's like, oh, it's such a shame. This is disappearing. They're giving up their ancestral lands. You know, occasionally I'll see a comment saying, well, hold on, who's actually going to work these rice fields? Kids don't do it anymore. So what do you say to those people that are so critical of the Balinese?
Well, giving up rice field, I think people have the rights if, for example, is the community. See, when coming to ancestral land, it's not only one decision, it's a family decision too, to whether to give up this rice field. I witnessed some of these rice field transactions 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whereby they sold the rice field, but actually the family still work there. So still own the area. But I think people have the right to actually to have the Western modern, like, you know, education and everything, but because we cannot just be like endangered species, just being a farmer or anything. We are all human. Like, if I want to be an astronaut or a rock star, we can stand toe to toe as well with everyone. It's sometimes torn family apart. Even now, for example, like, you know, we have a transaction deal where they want to sell, and the female member of the family beg not to sell, because if the money coming, then it's just used for example, from say drugs or anything. So actually, there is still, like, you know, not wanting to sell, but some Balinese people still not selling like the ancestral home. And Balinese people will never deny their home. So that's coming also, for example, for recruitment as well. Like, you know, it's good to actually employ Balinese, because if anything, then you can actually know their Banjar, know their village, instead have to find it, say, in Jakarta or Surabaya. So there is also always a sense of belonging. Balinese say to Balinese, they always say, where are you from? And I say, oh, which Banjar are you from? Oh, which, like, you know, there's this island mentality. So I think Balinese culture, I'm so proud, even though with the modern development, we are still strong, if not stronger, and we are able to. So basically, from developing, booming, and tourism is actually make more spirituality and culture stronger. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and a great point you brought up. And just to shed a little bit more light, and we're going to have one last question and then we're going to wrap. So, one, as I mentioned, we, Gateway to Indonesia, 3 different initiatives. One is RIB and Associates, SpeakuP Monday, and Tourism Architect. So one of the projects, so we have an MOU with Jatiluwih. Jatiluwih is a UNESCO World Heritage. It just won recently the best tourism village in the world, right? So our MOU is 3 parts. One part is sustainable farming, well, smart farming actually. The second part is about extending tourism assets in the area. And the third part is attracting business with heart. Business with heart meaning Tri Hita Kadana. And just again, for those, what I'm about to say is a version. Sari will say so much more eloquently than I will, but I find explaining this way to the Western mind gets it. So Tri Hita Kadana. So if you're about to set up a business and initiative, then the question that you ask yourself is, number one, so how does this business initiative, how does it impact top of the triangle, human to God, culture, customs, traditions, religion? How does it impact that? Maybe give it a score out of 10. If it impacts it terribly, then maybe give yourself a 1. If it impacts it in a wonderful way and it's really cognizant and aware of what culture is and supports it every step of the way, maybe give yourself a 10. Then we slide down to human to the environment, regenerative systems, policies, practices. So how does your business or your initiative impact human to the environment, right? And this is where this whole I knew this word, regenerative tourism, thank you, comes in.
And also, Canggu is like apparently the crypto Silicon Valley. Then actually,
Silicon Valley.
The highest GDP in Indonesia is actually in this area.
Correct.
So you see, there's the Jatiluwih, and there is the crypto Silicon Valley tokenization and everything. I think Bali is actually, we're quite good actually, and becoming the playground of the world. And let's just these people, like I'm encouraging everyone, like there is so many high network, high quality people. Give your knowledge to the local. Have the adoption process. For example, like nurture a local businessman. So basically, they can go internationally, nurture those talents, I think that will be like the greatest gift to the local, because getting them to your gravity. So the Balinese can be also a global player. That's what I like to have.
I love what you just said. You ruined it because that was my last question. I have to think of another last question now, but that's okay. But thank you. Getting back, so you got human to God, human to environment, and human to human prosperity. How does it create prosperity and share that amongst the community? So in Jatiluwih, when we say business with heart, it's a business which fulfills these 3 things. So, okay, when it comes to number 1, the farming, the average age is about 59 to 60. Okay, the average salary for a farmer is a little bit less than what they would get by going out to work a hospitality job in Badung, right, in Kuta, for example. So part of what we're doing there is there's a group called Astung Karaway, right, which are on the show. There you go, right? So I introduced them to Pat John, and we're working on an initiative there. So Astung Karaway have found a way to maximize the return, the yield from a parcel of land, be it 1 ara, 1 hectare, and so on. So that's part of that solution. There's a few others, but that's part of it, Tim. Thank you. So that's a wonderful thing. So the reason why I brought it up is that, yes, on one hand, the next generation don't necessarily want to be farmers for the reasons that you said. And for what you said, again, this is just through speaking to the people on the show and then obviously going deeper afterwards. But there is, in certain areas, those who want to become astronauts, as you mentioned, but also those which now, what is powering Astung Karaway are students from Udayana. and they are the age of the next generation, and I love them. They're amazing, and they're not kids, they're like 20s, 30s, right? But that's the next generation of farmer right there. And so again, I see things in a broad perspective, because the advantage of having a show like this is you get to talk to the leaders of 10 different market sectors every week, 1,000 people, almost 500 episodes. So I see what you see. I see great opportunity when it comes to blockchain. I started a group with one other guy. So this was about 2 years ago. We brought together 10 projects. Okay, now there's 3 things which are important in any community that we've set up, which have been a few. There's 3 things that we do. Number 1 is that we see each other. So we have meetings, we see each other. So if it was you, Sari, and I didn't know you, I would see you. Number 2 is I'd learn more about you. And then number 3, not everyone, but some will end up working together. So what happened in this group, and I can say it because I've said it before, the foreigners came in with the chest beating, like I know, and the locals came in knowing exactly the same thing, but humble. Over time, through doing a special panel on blockchain for about 2 years, managed to find a way to bring back the balance so they could see each other. In other words, the guy says, you know what, I'm a foreigner, but I realized that this guy, Anta Rahman, for example, Igade Anta, has the same level of determination as me, has the same level of understanding as me, reacts and responds in the same way when things don't go his way. So after a while, we begin to see each other. Then what comes next? Work together. So 4 of the projects of the 10 in this group are national projects sponsored by Indonesian government, traveling around Indonesia right now as we speak. And that to me is, obviously that's Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity and diversity, right? But that to me is where the strength is, right? So of the show, and I'm going to bring you in a second, there's 3 things that the show stands upon. One is people inspire people, one is unity and diversity, and the other one is, entrepreneurship and social impact. So my last question to you then is that when you think about Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, unity and diversity, when you look at places like Canggu and Bali, what kind of future do you see? And you've mentioned part of this already, but in addition to that, what is it that you think would need to happen? How can foreigners contribute? In other words, you mentioned one already about knowledge exchange, but how is it that we as foreigners or expats or bule, how can we contribute to the future regenerative growth and development of Bali? What would you say to that?
Well, back to the concept of Trihita Karna again. Whenever you contribute, has to be based on something. So basically, to contribute to what you want to do in Bali. So what the reason why you're in Bali, the universe or anything, just have like a peaceful, a better person, for example. That's very good as well. If you have a nice employer, then you are. So have a peace, and then part of the Trihita Karna is actually people to people, how you can make impact to people, their life, small thing, big things, how to inspire people is important, and also to the environment too, make sure responsible, the waste, and also create initiative. For example, there is initiative for plastic and anything, and just give example how living in harmony and also balance is important. Yeah, because we're all people and we embrace everyone. It just respect us, we respect your culture, we learn from one another, not there's some saying I'm only a guest here, you are the host. I never say it like that. So people that in Bali is, I think there is natural selection as well. So this is my island, your island, let's make it better. That's important.
Beautiful. And how can people get in touch with you? So Malekat, Hukum, how can I reach you?
Yeah. So my office here is in Brawa, next to Satu. So if you see my small poster, that's my office. And also we have another office in Dalung. It's actually a school, and in Jakarta and Jogja as well. So you can reach me from our website, malekathukum.com, Malekat, malekathukum.com. or just let me know. I'll give you my name card afterwards.
And just finally, so people that have seen you tonight have come to feel you as a person and so on. So why should they come to see you? For not why, but for which aspects of this legal, right, cultural, why should they come and see you? What services basically do you provide?
We also we're a law firm, so we give legal advice as well. We do due diligence as well. We also make sure that the contract is structured properly as well. So not only our Bali lawyer actually structuring our contract, it's actually Jakarta lawyer as well structuring our contract, plus checking Jogja as well. So more eyes, the better, to make sure it's watertight as well. And also, if you need property as well, in our companies as well, we have banks as well, and also like list of property, especially distressed property, we have that. And also for any legal advice, all cultural and also local surrounding, come to us. We will advise you anyway, because not only we see you not only client for now, but client for life. See, the beauty for me is actually if I see my client, I'm successful, Sari, you know. That's more like, you know, that's my satisfaction more than anything.
Round of applause, everybody. Luh Sari, Malekat, Hukum. Thank you so much.